what percentage did you of equity did you sell in the business?
So I'll give you a parallel to this. When we started the business, it was me and two other buddies. We're like, hey, let's just do this a third, a third, a third, right? It's pretty simple.
Right.
Let's get this business started. Well, at the time I got fired from the company, I owned 8% of the business, right?
Hmm.
Why? Because I decided to exchange chips for some dollars or get some capital into the business to grow further, thinking that, well, it's okay if I own 8% of the company's this big versus
Right.
the other way around. Let me try and gain more equity in this business. And we haven't talked about it yet, but what I subsequently did post that termination and picking myself back up is I had another company that I had invested in 2003 as well. It was a construction company, completely unrelated to that industry, that I initially owned 25% of because I invested in this business and I helped grow it a little bit. Well, post that firing, I was like, well, what am I going to do? I might as well spend some more time on this business.
Right.
I took all of my learnings, applied it to that business in the construction space. We subsequently grew that business from a little under 5 million to north of 100 million the right way. And in that business, I now own a controlling stake equity in the business. I
Right.
learned that equity is the key to everything in business, not getting there. I'd rather own 100% of a $10 million business than 10% of a $100 million business. It's the same equity
Right.
value, but in one I have more control over its destination.
Right. That's really interesting, especially that was because I thought you were going to say that when you bought some of the assets from the business that went under, that you started that one and then grew that to 100 million. So it's interesting that you went to a completely different sector
Yeah.
and industry. Take me a little bit in the days in between where you're fired from this business, completely shocked and felt. I'm sure you felt betrayed and all of these things at
Mm.
that time. But it seems like you have some great perspective that you grew it too fast, that you kind of had growth for growth's sake instead of patient ambition, which is, man, what a huge lesson and gift that is. But how did you feel, and what did you do to pick yourself up before you went on to the next idea?
Yeah. So, how did I feel? Disbelief. I felt a big target on my back leading up to that boardroom. Like I didn't feel
Mm,
comfortable. I knew something was going on. I remember calling my mentor probably a month ahead of time, going, "Something's going on here. Like I just feel like I'm being questioned everywhere. They don't trust. Like I just like this is odd. Like something's not right."
right.
And when it happened, I remember getting in the car and calling my wife and saying, "I just got fired." And I was a couple hours away, so I had like 2 hours that felt like 10 minutes because I don't know what I don't even know if I saw the road. Right, I just kind of drove.
Right.
And I pulled in at home, and I could tell my wife had just told my kids, "Hey, Daddy had a bad day at work today," kind of
Yeah.
message. Okay, they're
Yeah.
10 and
Pick up
8.
your toys.
Yeah, yeah. And she gave me a big hug, and I was kind of a little bit in just like a little bit of shock. Like this didn't really happen. Like they must have this wrong. Like there's no
Right.
way. This was my vision. This was my business. Like all my best friends work in this company. Like what are they
Oh,
doing? This doesn't make any sense. This can't be right. So disbelief, shock, disbelief, which then moved to, okay, now what do I do? Like you wake up the next day and you're cut off from your email, which by the way, this was for 15 years, this was my company. I didn't have a private email. This was my life. Like that was my life.
right.
Right now, shame on me for not doing that either. But like my email was my personal email.
Oh
And
my
so that
gosh.
gets shut off. So therefore, my calendar's gone, my email is gone. No one wants to call me because there was threatened to the employees that you shouldn't reach out to them. We're kind of whatever was communicated.
Crazy.
And so no one's calling me. My calendar's empty. My email's empty. And this is I'm the type of individual who would work 10-hour days. So what do I do? Like I just kind of like sit there, watch the Today Show, take my dog for a walk. Like it's kind of like, what do I do?
Right.
And I made a decision right then and there that I wasn't going to go jump into another role. I wasn't going to go take a job somewhere else. I wasn't going to go start another company. I just wanted to kind of like breathe. So I took some time off. I just dedicated to take a sabbatical. I told myself I'd take a year before doing anything else. I didn't take quite a year, but took some time to reflect and find. I didn't have perspective right out of the gate, Michael. That wouldn't be exactly true. It took me time to find it. One
Mm,
of the biggest pieces for me was okay. Here I am. I just invested all this time in my life. I lost everything. Like, what am I doing? Like, there's kind of like this question of like, what am I doing? What's my plan? What's my life plan? What am I trying to achieve in my life? I had a business plan. I know what I was trying to do there. I was just trying to grow it to be a $1 billion company. But why? Like, what was I ultimately trying to do?
Right.
And so through a lot of conversations, I decided to really spend a lot of time with myself, journaling. I had never journaled before. I started doing that. I decided to come up with a 30-year life plan for myself. Like, where do I want to be financially? Where do I want to be at health? Where do I want to be with relationships? Where do I want to be, my career, all these different metrics based on the one thing, the book by Gary Keller, The One Thing, which is, what's the one thing you're trying to achieve? And then
Great
what's the
book.
one thing I should be doing right now to go achieve that, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And it really helped me with perspective. Look, I'm healthy. I got my family. I got my wife. I got my kids. I got a nice home, a nice community. Is it really that bad? Like, think about other people in the world and other things that might be going on in their lives. Is it really that bad? Like, come on, man. Like, pick yourself back up, figure this out, get perspective on where you're at, get perspective on your learnings, be introspective on what you did to cause this situation, put yourself in this position, learn from it, crystallize your learnings, write a book about the learnings, right?
Yeah.
And go execute. And so it turned a little bit into a calling card for me, which is, okay, like, what are my learnings? What am I going to do? What's my life plan? Now go create a business that matches the life plan. Don't just go create a business with no attachment to anything.